Hello, and these are the people in my audience.
Hello everyone, welcome to my demonstration on how to sand wood. Today I'll be guiding us through the basic tools that are available to use in the process, as well as the recommended uses, and we'll be talking about the actual process of hand sanding. Okay, let's start with the basics, just regular sandpaper. You can never go wrong doing a whole project by hand. Doing so is very time consuming though, and requires quite a bit of elbow grease. An educator and writer for woodmagazine.com, Jim Heavey, said in a guide, because sandpaper scratches the surface to smooth it, it's important to begin with the right grit on the condition of the wood surface, depending upon the condition of the wood surface and whether a stain or top coat of finish will be applied. Sandpaper can commonly be found in 80, 100, 120, 150, 180, and 220 grits. Below 80 are generally used in paint removal, and above 220 are usually done between coats of finish, varnish, stuff like that. Now, let's talk about some different power tools that are available. We'll start with the bread and butter of your sanding needs, the random orbital sander, right there. In an article written for the website woodbin.com, Bill Kovalik says about the random orbital sander. Since its introduction in the early 1990s, the random orbital sander has become a mainstay in the woodshop. This is because it works faster than a vibrating palm sander and doesn't leave swirl marks. The latter advantage is a result of the elliptical random orbit of the sanding disc, such that the same path is not followed twice. The random sanding action also means that you can sand in any direction, even across the grain, without worrying about leaving sanding marks. Now that's nice. Another commonly used tool would be over here, the belt sander, which is very aggressive in its sanding and is mainly used for paint removal or roughly hewn wood. And last but not least, we have the sheet sander, also known as the pad sander and palm sander. The palm sander is quite useful, and it is also more cost efficient to use because it doesn't require pre-cut sanding discs like the random orbital sander. Now we'll get into the whole process of actual sanding the wood. Before you start though, you need to know what you want your finished product to look like. Are you going to be having varnish on it, stain, maybe using an oil like teak or Danish, or will you just be painting it outright? Let's see. In an article written by Chris Gardner for the website bobvilla.com, he states, hand sanding gives you the most control over shaping the wood surface. You can adjust corners and recesses that a machine would not be able to reach. Yes, I use powered sanders in nearly every woodworking or finished project I use, but I always do some sanding by hand. Remember when sanding to always go with the grain of the wood, never against it, or you could mess up the wood and leave a lackluster product. Over here you can see what happens to go across the grain, how it has those deep scratches across it. No amount of finishing is going to change that. And over here we have the swirl marks, which was what happens if you don't go in a continuous motion across with a palm sander. Now let me show you a little video I made earlier about how to actually sand and the process by doing it by hand. When sanding the wood and you're using paper, it's best to fold it up like this, have a little bit of a larger piece and fold it so you have more control over it and you can try to get a smoother finish. Since this was just cut, it's got kind of some of the wood fibers hanging off in the end there. As you sand it down, you're going to get rid of that. And when you're sanding, again, make sure you're always going with the grain, not across, to avoid the mistakes previously shown. So you're just going to go through and do this. Depending on what you're trying to do, you can go for rounded corners, or you can just go for a flat, straight thing. So you can see here, it's coming along. This is going to be a more coarse grain for the purposes of starting. So over here, I have one that I've already sanded down a bit with just the coarse paper. As you can see, it's all down and good. And then right here, I have the smooth one, and this is just great feeling, really smooth. All the corners are gone, everything. Alrighty. Thank you for coming today, everyone. I hope I was able to enlighten you a bit into the effort that goes into just sanding alone. I'm not even talking about the rest of woodcraft in general. And thank you for